Greetings, one and all. This is vk3sl. Welcome to the evening at Michiones. We're just going to fade that out there. Yeah. And you're with us there, Frank.
Good evening, Stephen.
Hello. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Good. Excellent.
And if a little tired.
Yes, I understand. You've got extra people in your household. You've
No,
got a busy
they've
time?
actually gone now.
Oh, have they? Okay.
Yes, they've gone back to their new house, new to them, to a
Yes.
new house.
Okay.
And to get the beds rigged up and stuff.
Okay, fair enough. So what did you think of Matilda?
Yes,
Was that the Tim Minchin version?
it was.
Yeah, it's clever. It's very clever.
It was very clever. I was surprised how well done it was.
Yeah.
Well, I say it shouldn't be, but it was,
Yeah,
British.
look, it's a good show. We know it very well because quite a few years ago, Beatrice was Miss Honey.
Oh, was she really?
Yes,
She'd be a wonderful Miss Honey.
yes, she was great, and so we got
It's
to
a
know.
big part.
It is.
A huge part.
It is a huge part. Yeah, so we sort of got to know it very well for a short
yes.
period.
Emily was determined that we should watch. Not that we didn't want to watch it, but
Yeah.
she was loving us watching it. You know?
Oh, that's marvellous. That's lovely. It's lovely to share these things.
Oh, yeah, so good.
Intergenerational, shared music, shared love of music and theatre. It's all good. Yeah. All right. Well, Frank, we won't go long. I want to celebrate Ravel's birthday, so thank you for bringing that up. And Henry was well on top of that one.
I bet he was.
Yes, he's here with his girlfriend tonight, and they're
Great.
talking about Ravel non-stop, and they're listening to it. And I said, "What would you suggest, Henry?" And he's given me a suggestion to play.
Good.
So we'll play a little bit of his chamber music, I think.
Please.
And that'll be a feature. So that'll be a part of it, and a few other bits and bobs along the way. But yeah, what I thought I'd start with though is something from the APV collection. That's Ian's. Ian actually chimed in at the end of the program this
It was
afternoon.
excellent, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good to catch up with Ian.
Certainly
And
was.
he had some suggestions, some really good suggestions about walks and things. So I'm sort of alert to that, and made notes. I have been to that waterfall before, Ian, if you're listening, but a long time ago. Yeah, this is my scouting days. So yeah, if I get a chance, I wouldn't mind having another look. So I'll be in the Newgie area on tomorrow afternoon and also on Sunday.
The only bushfire I've ever seen was at Newgie.
Oh, really?
Well, it was more of a big grass fire. No, it was a bushfire. Trees, a lot of trees burned down.
Well, that's it. Newgie's very heavily forested, of
Oh,
course.
hugely, yeah. And it was such that I was able to. It was put out in a few hours,
Yes.
and a few hours later we could actually walk among it.
Oh,
And
right.
it was very eerie.
Yes, I can well imagine, because there'd be no bird life, there'd be nothing. It'd just-
Nothing at all, except the smell of this acrid wood smell,
Yes.
burnt wood.
Yes.
And and I could touch some of it, so that it even cooled down a bit. You know,
Mhm. Okay, well, that's really quite
there was
profound.
a big wind, and that blew away the heat, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. That area has had such, it's had major fires go through it over the years. There's, of course, the 1939 fires just wiped out the entire Central Highlands.
Yeah.
And there was a big fire in 1926 that did similar. And in more recent times, there was the big fires, the Ash Wednesday of 1984.
Oh, they were huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going up there just after the 84 fires with my dad, and it was literally like a moonscape. It was like a raised earth. It looked like those napalm forests in Vietnam. It was just
Flattened.
yeah, it was just dead as far as the eye could see. It was just it was such a hot fire, and it had done such damage to that area. But look, it's all grown back, and it's remarkable how nature sort of finds its rhythm. Yeah, and so yes, the area we're walking in tomorrow is along an old timber tramway, and it fascinates me no end because I obviously love the nature, and it's fairly easy walking because you're walking along old tramways.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, but it's also full of history, and there are a number of old sawmills or sites of sawmills. Mills have long gone or been burnt, but there's old boilers and things, and you get and some of the remnants of the old timber bridges are still there, and it's just extraordinary, the bush architecture, the bush engineering. and the culverts that were cut and the work that went into those bridges is just absolutely extraordinary.
Yes.
These pioneers, they really knew their craft, and they were just had such a work ethic and such a determination. It's quite remarkable. So I always enjoy visiting those areas for that reason too, because it's deep history. And you think that these tramways were all cut by hand,
The amount of labour involved. Is horrendous.
unbelievable. It's just staggering. And they go for miles, and there's hundreds and hundreds of kilometres of bush tramways. Most of them are completely grown over, and they grow over quickly. If they're not cleared, they'll grow over in 10 years. But they had to be cut in the first place, and they're cut into the sides of the hills along the river escarpments. And it's major bush engineering. It's staggering. So I just in awe of that the whole that aspect of our pioneering history.
Yes.
So yeah, and where we're camping tomorrow night is actually the site of one of the old sawmills too. So
Oh, wonderful.
and there's some old remnants of steam engines and things there as well. So it should be interesting.
Yes,
I'm looking forward to returning to that area. Yeah, so we should be back on Sunday though. I'm planning to be back just after lunch on Sunday because there's a few things to do around here, and we've got a long weekend, which is all good. Yay! So look, first cab off the rank is something from Ian's collection and one of his dad's records. It's a recording of Bruno Volta and the Vienna Phil, and their performance of Eine kleine Nachtmusik. So I thought this would be fun to play, hearing a nice full-blooded performance of Mozart. And at 6 a.m. this morning, I was supervising a string quartet, or 6:30 this morning, supervising a string quartet playing at a special, quite a high, what should I say, a high-end sort of function, International Women's Day function.
Oh, really? Whereabouts?
It was at the school I teach at.
Yes,
But a number of dignitaries there, and it was quite a sort of special event.
Wonderful.
And and we played Mozart Divertimenti, and of course this is one of them, but we didn't play this one. But it's one we all know, the Eine kleine, and I love the way Bruno Volta plays this, and I think I'm pretty sure it's the first recording of it. So going back to the 1930s.
Yeah.
So let's have a listen. I'll play two sides. There's four in the set, but I'll play two, and I'll flip the disc in between, so we'll get a good picture of the first movement of the Eine kleine, the famed Eine kleine. So let's have a listen. We should hear the rest of this. Let's hear some more. go.
Charming.
Isn't that marvellous? I love it.
I grew up with it from as far, one of those things as far back as I can remember.
Oh, that's great, Frank. Yeah, likewise. Yeah, my grandfather lent me the record of that when I was a kid, and it sort of capitulated me into an interest in classical music. That was one of the formative pieces of real consequence for me. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's such glorious music, isn't it? I was really listening deeply, and the first movement, I love the way Bruno Volta slightly changes tempo when the second theme comes in.
Isn't that effective?
It's very effective. I love the way he just has those subtle
Never heard
changes.
that before.
Yeah, it's done with such charm and spaciousness and whimsy, and I love the texture with lots of strings. It sounds marvellous. So yes, there we have it. That's an early recording of I don't know if it's exactly the first. It probably is, and dating way back with the Vienna Phil, pre-war, that's for sure. So, a little bit special. And that's from the APV collection. That's from Ian's dad's record collection, which we've now have at hand.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, I'll just... so, anyhow, we've better listen to some Ravel. So, I've got a few things lined up, some chamber music. And I thought it might be nice to sort of celebrate some of Ravel's chamber music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Should just say this is vk3sl working vk3sl crossband duplex 2 meters to 160 meters.
Indeed.
And testing.
Absolutely. And people can just listen across and find us on 160 or on UHF. On UHF, we're 438.725, 160 top of the band. And what else? YouTubium. It's all there under my call sign, dedicated space for these missions. And if people want to make contact with the station, I'm going to say this more often because we do have a Hotmail account, especially for these missions. That's vk3sl@hotmail.com. So it's all there. Okay. Let's have a listen to some chamber music. I thought I'd play a movement from his Sonata for Violin and Cello. This is a work he dedicated to Debussy. It's written shortly after Debussy died. It took him 2 years to write it. Well, he sort of wrote it on and off. It's an absolute masterpiece. It's incredible the textures he can bring out of cello and violin, just two instruments only. It sounds like a string quartet. And it's a virtuoso piece par excellence. I've looked at the score. It's incredible.
Right.
It only for the very highest echelon players can really bring this off. But it's really worth a listen. It's worth exploring the whole thing. It goes for about 20 minutes. But I thought I'd just play the last movement of it, which is very folksy and very... Well, I think it's quite reminiscent of Bartok's music, or the other way around. And so I'm sure there's a lot of cross-pollination, but it's quite folksy and, very infectious. I think you'll enjoy it. So, the last movement of Ravel's Sonata for Violin and Cello, M73. Oh my goodness me! What a feat! It's astonishing. I was reading the score. The score's on the screen actually, and it's one of those recordings that's presented with the music to read as you listen. And it was the fourth movement of the Sonata for Violin and Cello by Maurice Ravel, whose birthday, 150 years. But we heard.
Absolutely. Those amazing textures of the interaction between the two.
It's astonishing. I'm in awe. It's incredibly difficult. It is in the highest echelon of difficulty.
Yeah.
Because it requires just incredible string crossing ability to cross strings and play in 3 dimensions, really. But anyhow, they did it, and they did it really well. And the artists, I should mention, were Jean-Jacques Cantoreau on the fiddle and Philippe Muller on the cello. The cello part is remarkable.
Yeah.
It's all remarkable. Amazing music. The whole thing is a great work. You just don't hear it very often because very few people can play it. And it's incredibly risky to play publicly. I mean, you hear a few recordings, but you just don't hear it in concert very often. The Sonata for Violin and Cello by Ravel. Yeah, in memory of Debussy. But I think quite more, to my mind, more reminiscent of Bartok with all those folk melodies.
Certainly.
Yeah,
it could almost have been Bartok.
Yeah, I know. If I'd heard that, I would have thought that's Bartok. Yeah, it's fabulous stuff.
Do Debussy and Ravel know each other very well?
Well, I don't know. This is an interesting question. I don't know. I think they may have met each other. I should do a wiki search on that. I should ask the question. That's a really good question. Did Debussy and Ravel meet? I'll ask that question to our wiki channel here. And AI Review said, yes, Claude Debussy and Maurice Ravel met and became acquaintances in the 1890s. Although they admired each other's music, their relationship became strained and eventually ended in the early 20th century.
Good heavens.
Goodness me. How they met Debussy was older and more established than Ravel. They became acquainted in the 1890s. This is the AI overview. So what else? Yes, it says their relationship became strained. Audiences debated whether Debussy influenced Ravel or Ravel influenced Debussy. Yeah. The dispute was so divisive that people almost came to blows. My God. Why did their relationship end? Debussy was offended when Ravel ignored his advice to leave his string quartet unchanged.
Oh.
It's crazy stuff, isn't it?
It is crazy stuff. It's amazing how sensitive they
get.
Yeah,
these fragile egos.
Fragile egos.
Yeah, and Ravel ignored his advice to leave his string. Okay. Ravel provided financial support to Debussy's wife after he deserted her. I knew that. And
right.
And I know that I think Debussy's wife killed herself.
Yes, she did. I know that.
Yeah.
That's terribly, terribly sad.
It is sad.
It seemed worried Debussy too much.
No, I think not.
Anyway, I don't really know. I shouldn't talk about that. I don't know.
No.
But I'd have to say I probably prefer the music of Ravel.
Yeah. I mean, I love Debussy's piano.
Oh, certainly. I mean, you really don't like to go preference, but they're quite different. Debussy was more of the soft sort of, softer sort of texture sort of.
Yes, look, there's a different voice, and Debussy is a product of an earlier generation, I think. That's certainly the case. Ravel really did take up the baton in many respects.
Debussy's more or less started the Impressionists, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And there was a whole sort of school of French writers who are sort of moving beyond the norm, the late Romantic tradition, the Wagnerian tradition, and sort of finding this voice of effects and colours and music. It's a very vertically integrated approach, and that's the way it all evolved. But I'll feature just a couple more examples of Ravel's chamber music. I really do love his chamber music. We hear a lot of he wrote 2 operas. Henry loves playing excerpts from his operas, which are quite magical, and we hear them around the house, but I'll save that for another time if I can ever get in.
I don't know them. I'll be looking forward to hearing.
Yeah, they're worth hearing. I mean, it's complex music with deep stories, and they're not often performed, but the textures and the colours are just absolutely amazing. But we will definitely feature something. So I'll get Henry to list some arias or list some segments to play, because I know he finds great meaning in them. But one work we do listen to also a lot is the Ravel Piano Trio in A minor. This is possibly one of his more famous works. He wrote it a little time before. I think he wrote it during the First World War.
Oh.
And I thought I'd play a historic recording of this. It's a very accessible recording. It was recorded in 1960, but it features Louis Kentner on the piano, Gaspar Casado on the cellos, one of my favourite cellists, and Yehudi Menuhin, a young Yehudi Menuhin on the well, not that young, he'd be in his 40s, on the fiddle, and
Right.
all three of them would have known Ravel. I know Menuhin met Ravel,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure the others did too. So there's quite a connection with that time and place. So, and I just love this interpretation. It's quite different to any other that you hear. They play. There's a lot of space, and there's a lot of imagination. Often I find this first movement of the piano trio is played quite quickly. In this instance, it's more reflective. So see what you think, and I'll play just the first movement, although I'd love to play the whole thing, but I commend the whole thing. If people are interested, look it up. It's really worth a full listen. But here's a sample-matic.
Right.
Oh, sorry, I have to go back to the start for this. such a colorist. That was the music of Ravel, played by Louis Kentner, Gaspar Casado, and Yehudi Menuhin in 1960. And so much space in that.
Oh, yeah.
And I just so love it when they both the cello and the violin are playing in unison, and the piano's playing in the lower octaves with the theme. It's just has that wonderful. It's timeless. It just has this amazing suspended time feeling.
It was really, really nice, wasn't it?
Oh,
I mean, the whole thing.
Yeah,
Lovely.
totally. It's beautiful music.
I've never heard it.
It's the middle movement is just gorgeous. The next one, but we'll save it. And we'll have to play it. I just feel completely transported by that interpretation of that work. Okay, while we've been listening to Menuhin, we'll hear another recording of Menuhin playing some of Ravel's Jewish music. He wrote, he's not Jewish himself, but he wrote music in the Hebrew style really well. He wrote a number of melodies. And this one is a recording made by Yehudi Menuhin in 1936, so 25 odd years prior to what we just heard. So Yehudi would have only been possibly 19, 20, thereabouts. And it's ravishing. It's just, Menuhin just had some connection to the very essence of this music. He's inhabiting it. See what you think. Yehudi Menuhin playing Ravel's Kaddish. That's a work called Kaddish with Yehudi Menuhin. It's beyond astonishing.
Oh, wow.
It
Sounded so Jewish.
did, and it was just...
Amazing yearning sound.
I know, he captured that intonation and that as you say, yearning. It's tremendous. So it's wonderful to hear that music of Ravel, something you don't often hear, and it's very personal and very personal to Menuhin's heritage, and he plays it with utter conviction. For a teenager, how do you play like that?
No, at any age.
At any age, yeah, that's a remarkable achievement. So yes, interesting to hear that music of Ravel from a very different vantage point. So, and he also embraced the gypsy spirit in the Zagan, which we've played numerous times before.
Yes, that's right.
I might play that on as an opening for the program on
Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
The Zagan's wonderful, but it goes for quite a while, so we'll make that our starting point. Well, look, this will be the penultimate, but I'll proceed it with just a little reading because, again, this one sort of is bound by a story of Menuhin's. I've got Menuhin's biography in front of me here. It's a book called Unfinished Journey. And it's, I suppose the story is more about Enescu than it is who was a Menuhin's teacher and a great musician himself. But it does relate the sort of the inception of this work, the violin sonata and it was, I'll look at my specs. It says, no single feat made a greater impression on me. This is Menuhin's quote. No single feat made a greater impression on me than one performed during a lesson one time with Enescu. Maurice Ravel suddenly burst into our midst, the ink still drying on a piano and violin sonata which he had brought along. It seemed that his publisher, Durand, wished to hear it immediately. In those days, publishers did not accept anyone's work unheard, not even Ravel's. What would they have done? I wonder, with the dodecaphonic scores. Enescu, chivalrous man that he was, craved Abba and my indulgence. Abba was Menuhin's dad, because he was a kid when he had this experience. Enescu, a chivalrous man that he was, craved Abba and my indulgence, as though I might draw myself up to my full 4 feet 6 inches and thunder, what a nuisance. Then, with Ravel at the piano, Enescu sight-read the complex work, pausing now and again for elucidation. Ravel would have let matters rest there, but Enescu suggested they have just one more playthrough, whereupon he laid the manuscript to one side, closed his eyes and played the entire work by memory.
Oh my God.
Such mnemonic tours of force bore out my conviction that Enescu was this tree of a man, as he seemed to me, drew musical intelligence straight from the source. Yeah. So beautiful words about the very genesis of this work. I'll just play the middle movement. It's the work is complex. The last movement is highly virtuosic. The middle movement, which we'll play, is called Blues. So Enescu's, Ravel's drawing his inspiration from what he heard in the years previous in his travels in the United States. And he was particularly interested in hearing the jazz and hearing early jazz, proto-jazz.
He followed Gershwin's career very closely.
Yes, he did. That's true. So he was sort of connected with that whole heritage, and it's represented in this movement Blues. Marvellous work. So we'll hear this, and a recording with Zaghetti made in the 1940s, but Zaghetti plays it beautifully. So, just the middle movement from Ravel's violin sonata. And again, I commend the whole work, the first movement, the last movement is unrelenting. That story about Enescu just floors me, because how anyone could play that virtuoso last movement on 1.5 hearings is just beyond anything imaginable. But anyhow, apparently it happened, because I don't think Menuhin would be one for exaggeration. But we'll have a listen, however, to the middle movement Blues Moderato. movement called Blues, the second movement, the moderato movement from Violin Sonata number 2 in G major by Ravel with Joseph Szigeti on the fiddle. Can't remember the piano player, but yeah, really effective.
Certainly was.
Yeah, he channels the whole spirit of the era. Jazz music with its blues inflection, lots of slides and yeah.
Picked it up pretty well, didn't he?
I think he did. I think he did a really good job. Okay, here's our last offering now, Frank. I think I'll wind up in a minute because I've got a big day. I know you're very busy too, and so we'll finish at this point and be back again on Sunday. No missions tomorrow and bushwalking tomorrow.
Yeah,
and
great day.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. We're going to camp out and hopefully the weather won't be too hot.
No, so you'll be on the rise, won't you?
Yeah, we'll be at
bit of cool.
Yeah, I hope so. We're in the foothills of the Wars, so we're up a bit, up around 1,000 metres, so it's a little bit higher, and it tends to be about 10 degrees cooler than it is in Melbourne, so it should be nice. Yeah, anyhow.
Make sure you take plenty of liquid.
Yes, we will. We have to take lots of water. To remind me, I've got to fill up the big bottle in the car, the big tank.
Very good.
Yay. All right. Well, we'll finish up with something rather special. I think it's since we're sort of celebrating Ravel's music, and why not hear the artist himself? He'd actually made a few piano rolls in the early 20s. I don't know if there are any 78s. There might be one or two, but this is really lovely. It's a performance of Pavan for the Dead Princess.
I love that.
Yeah, beautiful piece. So we'll hear Ravel himself playing a duet piano roll. This is the rolls with expression.
Fascinating.
Yeah, with some expression.
You hear such a variety of tempi.
Yes, he actually plays it quite quickly. It's interesting. So
I heard that he said to one student who played it to him, she played it very slowly.
Right.
She's defunct, but we don't want the music to die as well.
Okay, that's a great retort. Yeah. Okay, well, he certainly doesn't play it like that. He gives it forward momentum, and we'll hear this as our last, final for today. So thanks so much, Frank. Thank you for sharing. And we look forward to your company, as we do with the listener, next on Sunday afternoon, all being well. So, all the best, and thank you for listening.
And take care, and enjoy the walk.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Frank. Yeah.
Very best to the listener,
yes.
And we'd like to have you back on Sunday.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Catch you soon.
L3JR clear.
And vk3sl also.